Have you ever seen someone get roasted live on TV, but then completely turn things around in an epic way? That's exactly what happened to Lamar Jackson. One of his loudest critics dropped a heavy comparison that shocked everyone. But the craziest part is that this might be the start of something huge. A comeback that could take Lamar and the Ravens straight to the Super Bowl. Stick with me till the end because I'm going to tell you everything that went down and why this story could change the entire season. Go Ravens! Nick Wright, one of Lamar Jackson's most persistent doubters, surprised a lot of people during the Indy 500 coverage. Known for questioning Lamar whenever possible, Wright was at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway promoting Fox Sports' first ever broadcast of the race. But instead of just talking about racing, he went further, connecting two very different sports worlds, and ended up making a comparison no one expected, especially from him. During a chat with racing legend Mario Andretti about the greatest of all time, Wright brought up Patrick Mahomes as usual, but he didn't stop there. Talking about Alex Palou, the three-time IndyCar champion and one of the favorites to win the Indy 500, Wright said he saw Palou in the same position as Lamar Jackson, a dominant athlete in the regular season who, despite all the success, still hadn't won the biggest title, leading to extra criticism and pressure. What seemed like another subtle jab slowly took on a different meaning. Wright admitted that this extra pressure on Jackson and on Palou wasn't due to a lack of talent, but because of their immense talent. They shine so bright overall that any specific absence becomes an almost unfair target for criticism. Palou hadn't won the Indy 500 until then, just like Jackson had never taken the Ravens to the Super Bowl. But the most curious part of this story happened right after Wright's comment. Less than 48 hours later, Alex Palou broke the taboo and won the most important race in the world. This outcome changed how many Ravens fans viewed Wright's words. What started as criticism turned into a sort of prediction. Now, what looked like a provocation might actually be a sign that Lamar Jackson is about to follow the same path as Palou. And this coincidence exploded all over social media the moment the checkered flag waved. Alex Palou's victory at the Indy 500 was more than just a major motorsport achievement. For many, it felt like a direct answer to Nick Wright's comparison with Lamar Jackson. Palou was already a three-time IndyCar champion, but had been overshadowed by the one title missing on his resume, the biggest race on the calendar. Like Jackson, he carried the weight of a stellar career that critics still saw as incomplete. And it only took the last 14 laps for him to change that narrative forever. The decisive moment came when Palou took the lead by passing Marcus Ericsson on the inside at turn 1. It was a risky, precise, and final move, crossing the finish line and drinking the traditional milk of champions. Palou didn't just win a trophy. He flipped the story from almost champion to undisputed name. The irony is that he did this right after being compared to Lamar Jackson by someone who didn't really believe in either of them. This victory immediately resonated with NFL fans, especially Raven supporters. Social media flooded with messages claiming Palou opened the door for Jackson. Many saw the win as a symbolic warning that Baltimore's quarterback might be about to break the barrier that has kept him from the Super Bowl. The kicker? The comparison came from one of Lamar's fiercest critics, which made the story even more intriguing. The sequence of events was so perfect, it became a talking point beyond sports. How a narrative born from criticism can turn into a sign of a comeback. And that question becomes even more relevant when you look at the root problem. Why does incomplete success create so much pressure? What connects Palou and Lamar Jackson is not just talent, but the almost suffocating pressure that comes with it. Both are examples of athletes who have won too much too soon, yet still live with the feeling that something is missing. For Palou, it was IndyCar championships without the Indy 500. For Jackson, it's regular season records and 2 MVP awards, but only 1 playoff win per postseason at best. And that mix became fuel for critics like Nick Wright. The irony is that the more an athlete delivers, the greater the demand that they win the biggest one. This puts brutal pressure on stars like Jackson, who are leaders and phenoms but are labeled not clutch, despite historic numbers. The logic is harsh. If you're average, no one expects much. If you're brilliant, every failure is magnified. This makes every season and every game a trial by fire. Palou proved it's possible to break that barrier. But what makes his case symbolic is the timing. right after being called out as an example of unfair pressure. His win dismantled Wright's criticism in real time and sparked hope for those who see Lamar Jackson as a talent that just needs a spark to ignite the playoffs. The big question now is Jackson ready to follow the same script? Because if he is, the next chapter could shake not only the AFC, but also the narrative of everyone who never believed he'd get there.
All right, we're already past the halfway point of this video, but before we continue, I noticed you haven't left a like yet. It's really important because it helps YouTube keep showing you my content so I can keep bringing you the best news about the Baltimore Ravens. So go ahead and hit that like button. It's free and it really helps. Thanks. Now let's get back to it.
In the hours following Alex Palou's victory, something unusual started happening on social media. Ravens fans, who until then had only watched the Indy 500 from afar, began using Palou's name as a symbol. It was as if his win had opened a portal of hope for Lamar Jackson. The coincidence of Nick Wright's speech, the similarity in their paths, and the triumphant outcome created an emotional domino effect that shook Baltimore. The buzz grew fast. Memes, edits, and optimistic messages started circulating. Many said the Palou effect could reach the NFL in 2025, with Lamar finally silencing critics with a historic campaign. It was more than just fandom. It was a collective attempt to turn a detractor's analogy into fuel for an epic comeback. And when a passionate fan base like the Ravens buys into a narrative, it spreads like wildfire. The atmosphere among fans shifted. Frustration from past playoff losses gave way to excitement about what's coming. There's a new feeling in the air that everything is aligning for Jackson to prove once and for all that he's not just a regular season phenomenon, but a quarterback who can win it all. What's curious is that this wave of confidence started from the words of a commentator who, in theory, never wanted to inspire anyone in Baltimore. This kind of energy can be decisive. In sports, the line between frustration and glory is often thin. An emotional spark like this can change everything. And if it does, the main person affected by the side effect might be the very one who tried to undermine Jackson once again. If Lamar Jackson leads the Ravens to the Super Bowl, one name will be remembered, and it's not just his. Nick Wright, the same commentator who for years doubted Jackson, could end up as a key figure in a historic turnaround. Because if the comparison Palou truly results in a title, Wright will have unintentionally made the connection that reignited hope for an entire city. And the most curious part? It could backfire on him. Ravens fans won't forget. If Jackson wins, especially if he gets past the Chiefs, the team Wright so strongly supports, the irony will be almost cinematic. The man who spent seasons criticizing Lamar, who elevated Mahomes to an untouchable status, will see his idol surpassed by the very player he attacked the most. The narrative will be turned upside down, and he, whether he likes it or not, will have been part of it. Wright might not regret making comparison, but if the outcome repeats itself in the NFL as it did in the Indy 500, he will have been the unwitting herald of a storyline reversal. The one who pointed out the similarity as a limitation will see that same similarity become the precursor to a crowning achievement. And at that moment, even the harshest critics will have to admit, Lamar Jackson did exactly what they expected he never could. And when that happens, if it happens, Wright's name will be there, etched at the start of the story, not as a supporter, but as the last doubter before the big leap. And that could turn a simple remark in Indianapolis into one of the greatest ironies in recent NFL history. Lamar Jackson just received a heavy live jab, but this criticism might be exactly the fuel he needed for an epic season. If what happened with Alex Palou at the Indy 500 serves as an example, Lamar's turnaround could be closer than anyone imagines, and that could turn the Ravens into an unbeatable force heading for the Super Bowl. What do you think? Will this provocation spark the best phase of his career? Share your opinion in the comments, and let's follow this promising journey together.
And if you, just like me, are passionate about the world of football and want to learn more about the Ravens' legacy, don't leave this video without sharing it with that friend who is also a Baltimore Ravens fan and will love this content. See those video suggestions on your screen? The first one was handpicked just for you, and the other is a recommendation from YouTube itself. See you there, and until the next video, go Flock.